In different places of the world, including Egypt, which was known as Kemet, modern day Egypt, different parts of, I would say, Central, South America, places like that, you can find pyramids. Now, we don't know a lot about these pyramids, and you hear a lot of rumors, and I done heard everything about the pyramids. Somebody told me they were built by aliens for the purposes of harboring energy from our planet. Somebody told me there were tombs used for the dead, and we have found different, mummies inside of them. But is that what they were for, or is that just something that was in one of the rooms? Nobody really knows. And I've heard other things too. I've heard other more far-fetched ideas, like that's where the aliens come in and out of the planet, and all kind of stuff. Or that's where you go when you die, and then you transition to a planet, another place. I've heard so many different things. So the other day I asked you guys for my next mystery, what did you want me to pull cards on? And you guys, surprisingly enough, asked me to pull cards on ancient, the pyramids of ancient Kemet, the pyramids of what is now modern day Egypt. So I was like, okay, because you guys know I'm a priestess of Mayat. So Mayat is the spiritual system that the ancients were practicing. So I'm like, this could be fun to learn something here. So I've never really thought about it before. I mean, I've seen National Geographic like everybody else. I've seen the pictures, and honestly, I thought it was kind of disrespectful to go inside somebody's tomb and loot it. It never left a good taste in my mouth, especially knowing that the Egyptians would not have liked that. I know that for a fact, just from the things that they wrote about, desecrating someone's tomb and laying them to rest and things like that. They found that rest time to be sacred to, the body. So I knew they wouldn't like that. So it's not something I've ever really got into. Like, I wouldn't myself go in a pyramid unless a heavenly being took me in there, But I thought it would still be cool to ask them questions and see what they tell me about the pyramids. So that's what we're going to do today. My name is QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to someone else who is curious about the pyramids. If you would like to get a reading done, please hit me up on my private information. Let's see, my email and my social media are all underneath this video. If you would like to become a patron on Patreon, that would be awesome, because patrons get these videos first. So patrons will get this video, as a matter of fact, today, and everybody else won't get it until next week. And some of the times I don't release them right away. Sometimes it could be months before I release a Patreon video, if at all. Let's see. What else would I like to tell you guys? I would like to tell you that underneath this video is also the mat. The gorgeous mat I have here in the background. The pretty pink colors and the greens and the browns and the blues. That is from Ascension Life brand. And the link to that will also be underneath this video. I will also include the decks I'm getting ready to use. I'm getting ready to use several different decks. And I am an Amazon affiliate, and I think I have link codes. Yeah, I have link codes to all of these decks. So I will leave that underneath here for you too, so you're going to have to guess which deck I'm using. All right, guys, let's take a look. The first thing I asked them was these 3 cards. And as you can see, these are Egyptian-inspired cards. It's called the Nefertari Tarot. I thought it would be very fitting to use these when we're talking about the pyramids. So the first card, I said, who built the pyramids? And we got the 8 of Swords. Now, this fascinated me immediately because the 8 of Swords, when you look at the interpretation of it, is all about a bunch of different things about, like, moving on and things like that. But what I thought was fascinating is that there is a correspondence between the 8 of Swords and the Masons. And I was like, wait, what? So they're telling me that the Masons, they're humans, built the pyramids. It was not aliens. It was not Bigfoot. It was not any of those things that we think it may have been. Now, I don't know who's using it, because we're getting ready to see they can be used for a number of different things. But they were built by human beings who became the modern day Masons. I don't know anything about Mason history. I don't know anything. All I know is my little brother is a Mason, and I know some women who are Eastern Stars, which is the female version or the female equivalent of the Masons. And I don't know anything. I've never asked a lot of questions. It always seemed to me like it was private and sacred to them, so I never asked a lot of things. But this card tells me that the people that built the pyramids are the modern day Masons. So they might not have been called that back then, but that's what they evolved into. They were builders. They were professional builders. So I thought that was interesting up front, because I thought they were going to say aliens built it. So I'm like, okay, it was definitely human hands. So that's interesting. Then I said, why? Why did they build these? They're gorgeous and everything, but what was the purpose? And this one tells me the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords indicates some type of a passageway, a transitional space. It's always something like that. It's like a passage, a way to get to a different place or something like that. So that was intriguing to me, because I'm like, okay, so is it like they're teleporting to another realm or something? And we find out later, actually, no, it's more of an inner thing, according to the last card. So what happens is that their bodies are still in the tomb. They're still in the pyramid, maybe in a chair or laying on the ground or something like that. And their spirit, the intuitive, the inner part of them, their soul, is what is able to travel in this pyramid. So it's kind of like they go into, remember, some people can go to the astral plane. It's kind of like that. They go into some form of a trance or ritual or meditation, and they're able to communicate, and they're able to travel. I must use the word travel to communicate what we're getting ready to find out with these beings. So it's very interesting. Let me tell you what else I asked them. And this one I asked, what was the purpose of this? Like, why are they going in these things and traveling somewhere? And it said that this is a spiritual journey. So this is for people who are on an inner quest, like a vision quest. They would call it in a Native American tradition. But in this tradition, it's not called that. It's just a spiritual journey, a spiritual quest. And I also asked in this card here, I asked, are they still functional? Like, or because like I've seen them on TV and they look like empty buildings basically. And they said, yeah, they're still functional, and there still are some who can use them. It's not many though, according to this. It's about, they gave us a 9, so it could be about 900, but it's small. It's a small amount with the 9, so it's not very many people that will be able to do it. But some people could still go in there and receive. Look at the beams of light. They could still go in there and receive this knowledge, this transmission, this communication, this inner communication with these spiritual beings, what they're calling them. So I was like, okay, like, okay, wow, interesting. So there are still some. I think it's just a matter from what you're getting ready to see, having the knowledge, what it looks like, in the discipline. But let me show you, because I have cards for it, so that'll make more sense. Remember I said that it's some type of inner communication. And so I'm asking them, like, all right, so tell us more. All right, give me a second, guys. I'm going to pull this down for you just a bit. There we go. I'll move it over here so you can see the first 2 cards. So when I asked, like, okay, so you're communicating with what? You're communicating with who for what? And they said it's gods and goddesses, divine feminine energy. This was a goddess Auset. This is my mother right here, a depiction of her. You often see her looking different. Sometimes she's much darker, but different looks similar to that, with the Egyptian like headdress on, and a lot of times her headdress is different. So, but yeah, that kind of basic look. So they're saying that they're receiving power, they're receiving information, energy, all kinds of transmutations, what we would call downloads now. They're receiving them from the heavenly bodies. So from the gods and goddesses, basically, is what they're communicating with inside of the pyramid. It's more of a telepathic communication, as you can see. You know, it's not like calling them on the phone. You know, they're like kind of, I'm imagining in my third eye when I see it, they're going into some type of trance state, some type of meditative state, and they're able to talk to them with this kind of a transmission, this kind of communication. And they told me that a lot of their conversation here is about the earth. They talk a lot about touching the earth, planting the earth, taking care of the earth, taking care of the beings of the earth. So they were getting a lot of knowledge from these, you know, from these heavenly beings. They were getting a lot of knowledge about the planet and the beings on the planet and what to do and what not to do. So some of the energies are indeed masculine. We saw the divine feminine first, but they said there's also divine masculine energy. So it's not just goddesses, it's both gods and goddesses. We found out that those who go inside of the pyramid for this particular purpose, they are able to expand their consciousness. They're able to tap into their abilities. They open up their third eye, things along those lines. So it's a very spiritual type thing. And it looks to me like only spiritual, like priests and priestesses are the ones who were doing this. I don't think it was just any Joe body just, you know, bebopping down the street. I think anybody can worship, anybody can love God and goddess, but I think you had to be one of the priests or priestesses to actually be able to utilize this based on the cards I'm getting ready to show you. So they would go in, expand their consciousness, and they would learn truth. The Egyptian spiritual system is called Mayat. I'm a priestess of Mayat, and Mayat is all about truth, justice, righteousness, you know, doing the right thing. So I'm not surprised that truth comes up as one of their spiritual lessons that they're learning inside of the pyramids. Now, interestingly enough, if you look on the edge here, they were also learning about, this is magic, that snake around him. In our tradition, the Egyptian tradition, the snake is representational in some cases of magic and wisdom too. So this is what they were also getting. They were getting magical lessons. They were getting wisdom. They were learning about sacred medicine, how to heal the body. And they left behind, the Egyptians left behind a lot of this information. So it's not far-fetched to even, you know, think like, oh, wow, yeah, I have seen it. They left over, I mean, I don't know how many different texts on medicine and things like that. They talk about all kinds of stuff they left behind. And this is where they were getting the information. They even talked about the emerald tablet. I've seen that many times mentioned throughout history. And that was the kind of thing they more than likely got channeled down from inside of one of these pyramids. So I was fascinated. I was like, wow, this is more than I even bargained for. Like, wow, okay. Here we are. I was talking to them to tell us more. And they said that, remember I said the actual journey. I was thinking that the journey was like a teleportation device. You know, like on Star Trek, and you go in the room and Scotty beams you down. That's what I was thinking it was. But they said, no, the body stays inside of the building. Chop wood. The chop wood card is about practical, physical. So your physical body stays inside of the building. It is your spirit. The water represents spirit here. That is what it is that actually travels. So the spirit is able to travel to other dimensions, to talk to different spiritual beings. And mostly what they talk about is the things that I showed you earlier. And the building blocks. They taught them with the building blocks. There you go. They taught them, remember we talked about the planet. They taught them, I mean, this was the beginning of time. Not the very beginning, but, you know, early in time, because it was, you know, all kind of hunters and gatherers way before this. And then there was Nubia. There was all kind of other things before ancient Kemet became a mighty empire. But they also built a lot of things. You know, Kemet is responsible for the building blocks of a lot of things we still use today, including paper, you know. So they gave them a lot of that knowledge. So a lot of, you know, you can thank these early holy people, these early spirit, these priests and these priestesses, because they were the ones who got the building blocks of society from the gods and goddesses. Fascinating. Then I asked the last question. I said, what kind of people, remember those 9 people I told you about that know how to do this or could actually utilize, let me turn this around this way. Those 9 people I told you could actually utilize the pyramids. I was like, what kind of people are these? Like, like what you got to do? Like, I want to go. Like, like, what are the credentials? Like, what do I need to go? And they said, you got to be a Messiah. Oh, man. So, okay, you have to be a Messiah, someone who is serving humanity with humility. And I guess only they can really say that, you know, who's a Messiah and who's not. But Jesus Christ would have been one of the Messiahs, I'm sure. And I'm sure there are many others throughout different cultures, throughout different histories. They said it's at least 9 on the planet right now. So there's been some, but it's not a lot. So any Messiah should be able to do it who's, you know, coming from a place of light. Also, those who work as guides, but they have to represent the nature of the divine in life and in yourself. So that's really any priest, priestess, spiritual person from any tradition. I don't think it really matters like what your tradition is. If you're really somebody who is into love and into light and treating people good and living, you are going to be able to access what is going on inside this pyramid. Now, personally, I can see why that's such a small amount of people, because there's not a lot of people who truly even aspire to reach these heights. I think it was more in the ancient world, but it still isn't the majority of the population. Even some people who are in these traditions and are priests and priestesses aren't really walking with light. We don't know who they are, but you know, we all know that some are and some aren't, because sometimes they get caught doing things they have no business. And then the last one, it says true seekers. Now, these seekers, okay, have a thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. So these are the kinds of people that would be able to access the pyramids and talk to the gods and goddesses and get all of this information that would later be the building blocks of civilization. And if people went in now, they probably would get building blocks for the future. So they're still very much functional and they're still very much useful. But you have to be one of these kinds of people to be able to utilize it. And I think that, like I said before, you know, there are people, and I don't think you have to be in one spiritual system to be one of these things. Some people will tell you, you know, you have to be in this spiritual system or that spiritual system, or you got to be a priestess of Mayat. That's not really what they're giving us. They didn't even give us the priestess card, and there is a priest and priestess card in this deck. So it's saying that you don't have to have a formal title. You just have to have the heart of light, the heart of wisdom, the heart of love, the heart of goodness, the heart of truth. Truth seems to be very important. That came up more than once. Somebody who serves humanity with a humbleness and an openness. So you don't have to have like this grandiose title, but you do have to be somebody who is seriously walking in the light and doing the right thing. So if that's you, go to Egypt and see what happens. I don't know. They didn't tell us how to work it, so I don't know how you can actually work it. But maybe when you walk in, you know, the chamber will open for you because you are the chosen one. I don't know. I don't know how that part works. They only gave me what they gave me. So I love this. I love this question. I love doing this reading. So you guys, please let me know what you think and come back soon because I have a lot more to say. See you later.